Hey guys, how's it going? It's Philip with Trade Genius. In this video, kind of wanted to cover price action. A lot of people are pretty excited about the growth of Litecoin, and it's had a really tremendous run. I personally like Litecoin, and like to see that a lot of the long-time holders are finally getting rewarded with some pretty nice moves to the upside, no doubt. But with markets, price action tends to repeat itself. Cycles tend to repeat themselves. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you guys kind of compared to an Ethereum move that we had earlier in the year. And if you've been following the channel, our videos, I've always said that Litecoin is ready to do an Ethereum type run. It's more than met that. In fact, it's done it in a really fast period. But I wanted to show you kind of like how Ethereum had run up and kind of the thought process that everybody had at that time. So let's go check out this Ethereum chart. And this goes back earlier in the year to like April or May. But if you see, like, kind of similar to Litecoin, where we were cruising over here in like the 50s consistently, and then we kind of came up onto the hundreds, and we held that, and then we broke through 100 and we ran up to 222. Then we had like a 40 some odd percent pullback over here to 116, and then we shot back up. And so, like, really solid trend, right? Really solid uptrend starting. And then it kind of went kind of parabolic and ran right up and almost tagged 425. Now I remember back in here, everybody, and Bitcoin was going up too, but everybody was just saying this is unstoppable. This is not. This is going to 1,000. I remember that plain as day. And so I wanted to kind of just go through kind of what the thought process when these things are doing these moves, and then how things kind of change. Now, I will say I do realize that volume is a lot larger now, because back in April we probably have, I don't know, 2 or 3 as many people, 2 to 3 times more people probably in the crypto space on the retail side than we did back when Ethereum was doing this. So that's probably why we saw Litecoin move as fast as it did, versus where Ethereum, when it made this type of move, it was drawn out over a couple of months. But so now it makes this top, it pulls back. Now this is not unusual. Okay, crypto does pull back, and so when you see a move like that, I typically like to measure it just to see how, as far as fib ranges go. And so, like, that's, classic low to high fib range buy zone, and that makes sense. The other thing I would do is I would measure from top to bottom on that move, and basically I want to see kind of where the technical short zone would be there, right? Because to me, it's like if you get back above that, you kind of kill the whole bear momentum. And so it's not, I like to say a clean break, one bar close above that's not gonna totally convince me. If you get a second bar close, that's usually like they're dead for sure. Now on this day, I don't know if you guys remember this, some of you new to the space won't, but Ethereum had a flash crash on Coinbase. I literally filled orders down to like the low here of $13, and there was reports of guys that were instant millionaires because they just had low orders working down there, and they got filled. Coinbase ended up fixing that and actually making people whole, because what happened was if they got stopped out, instead of stopping out where their stop was supposed to execute it stopped out way lower, but they ended up making everybody whole on that because of the exchange locked up. So anyway, can't really count that wick too much. That shouldn't have been that much. The exchange just malfunctioned. All right, so so you're thinking, okay, well, we're still pulling back. That's cool. At this point, for me, I would be looking at also what's the other fib range. So I take from another low to high, and we'll look at the long. All right, so that's still in the range there. And we're cruising through, and now you see this a lot. Sometimes you get stuck between fib zones. You're like, okay, that's consolidation. I could actually even draw a trend line now, because whenever you get a sustained kind of a pullback, and still this to me would be like consolidation. Basically, I'm looking for trend lines established, because if you break those, then usually that's an indication that we're back to buying. Now, basically on this move here, down to here, this actually executed a fib measured move. So in theory, this is now done, this fib range here. So we delete that, and you would actually draw, once that move finished, you would draw another fib range, like the entire distance low to high, because that's kind of what, now you're trying to find out where the next technical spot would be for bears to take over. Okay, so you're still in a fib buy zone. You don't want to see this level breached, because that's not good. So okay, now you're seeing, okay, that what's going on here now. Now we're going from the consolidation type move to, we're starting to look at a sustained pullback. Now at this point, now that we've dropped out of that and broken through that, bears are fully in control, and this fib target here of 150 is on the table. Now keep in mind, just a few days or a couple weeks ago, in this time frame, we were pushing up over 400. Like, it just looked unstoppable. But now we're looking at a fib target now of 156, so big pullback, right? And so now I would be looking at, and I'm just showing you how kind of the psychology of what you look at. But now it's like, okay, well, now let's look like the full range, kind of low to high on this thing. So we'll just pick some down here, and we'll draw that, and that's a long. Okay, so this range kind of busted, so that's bye-bye. This range was busted, that's bye-bye. So now here's where we're looking at our bigger ranges, and we're coming in on this fib target here. So now you're thinking, well, that fib target completes, we're in a big range here, let's, there's a bounce. Okay, so makes sense, we dove into a big fib range, we're gonna bounce. Really want to see this clear this trend line, but we're not. And that, see, this is a sustained downtrend, obviously. So now it's like, okay, we got, this is now more than just a correction. This is a downtrend, and we tag it there. So now that fib completes, and now this is going full bear market, because now you don't even have a large fib range that you can really say, there's nothing below this. So okay, so now we get a bounce, we break the trend line. So we've made a low here of $130. So there's a pullback of 70%, almost 68.99. So you just have to keep in mind the possibilities. Now we know better, this was pretty much the low on Ethereum, and what you can look at, as at this point you don't know it's the low, right, though. But what you can do is you can look at the volume. So volume coming into this now, all of a sudden, if you look compared to other spots, there's a little bit of volume here on the dip buying. You could say, oh, that's buyers are coming in, but if it rolls over on you, then you're kind of screwed. And there was a decent volume here on that dip, so they do provide some moves up, but you're looking for them to sustain. Otherwise, if you're swing trading these, you're going to stop out, or you're going to trail your stop up, like we talked about yesterday. You trail your stop up. Those are techniques. But we see big volume. It's good for some decent moves. This one was, in here at what, 200 to 320. That's a big move, but it didn't change the trend. This trend line stayed intact. So now you see a lot more volume coming in here, more so than these pockets of volume here. This is a change to me. If I see this on this day, to me this is like a whole bunch of volume came in here. So there's two things you can do. One is you could wait and see if we get a kind of a market move up, and then you can buy a pullback after because most of the times you would see a 1, 2, 3 bar bounce and a roll over. So here's a 1, 2, 3. What's different is this moved up. I'd like to see this level clear. Okay, it's consolidating here. I wouldn't be convinced until I saw that start to move up. See, you're still not quite to where you want to be price action wise. The other thing too you can do, and this is a small fib zone, but you would I would definitely, by this point I would have drawn this and look for that to hold, and that does end up holding. So that's a bottom. But this volume, which was different, this was a lot more volume than we had seen in the past, concentrated volume, and ultimately that ended the bear market for Ethereum. And in the bigger picture, Ethereum ended up kind of consolidating for quite some time sideways, and then ended up moving higher. So I just wanted to run that through with you guys, just so that you want to make sure that you have all the possibilities floating around in your head as far as price and stuff like that. So when you're, if you're thinking, man, we ran up to 400, this thing's going to 1,000. It may very well go to 1,000, and I think Litecoin has the ability to go to 1,000. But keep in mind, you will see corrections, okay? And the faster and higher things go, the faster and larger the corrections are. That's just price action 101. So I know it's awesome when things are up and you're up like 200-300%. That's awesome. But you may look at taking some of the position off the table to lock in some of those gains, or trailing a stop up. That's nothing wrong with that. So wanted to cover that real quickly. We can look at Litecoin pricing. If we look at, let me get to the right chart here. Let's look at Litecoin. Let's look at the parabolic chart, because it deserves the parabolic chart. And we want Bitfinex. So let's look at the smaller time frame. So we're looking at this one because this is taking care of a smaller time frame, because you've got a parabolic move in a smaller time frame, and then we also have the larger one. So we came up, we hit this parabolic curve, and currently we're in what we would call a bear flag, and that's actually a bullish setup. And so bear flags come down like this. I'll just real briefly draw this. It flags down like this. It's a horrible looking flag, but then it'll break up and make another high. So measured move on this pullback takes us to 346.203. But again, if we are hitting this curve, expect price to be expect that to be resistant. That's just price action, parabolic curve action, and they actually do work out pretty well like that. So that's short term, okay? So you could see a move up to 400. Now keep in mind, this is Bitfinex, and I draw these on Bitfinex because they had a more history than Coinbase. Coinbase on everything right now is trading at a premium. So you saw thrust into the 400s. We never even got there with Bitfinex. 320 is the high on Bitfinex. Larger picture, you could look and see on Litecoin. And Litecoin has a lot of interest, so I'm covering it, and I just wanted to cover the psychology, guys, so that's just why we're taking a look at this. But you could see a run to 6. This would be this would be almost like a blow off top type move in such a short amount of time. But there is a lot of when you look at it in these parabolic curves, it really kind of puts things into perspective as how fast things can move up. But that might take more time, and really the one I'm looking at is the one that's this curve here. So that's Litecoin. Bitcoin, let's take a look at that and then we'll wrap up. What we've been seeing kind of consistently is that during the Asian session we have some weakness. We definitely saw some weakness here, and actually on this move down here, guys, we had, I think the South Korean regulatory system said they were going to get together on Friday, emergency session, talking about cryptocurrency regulation. I don't think that's that bearish. I think we just had a knee-jerk reaction. But I don't really think it's that bearish. They're just, all they're saying is, look, we're going to regulate this stuff and we're going to tax it, but it's not going to get outlawed or anything like that. So currently, right now, the new technical level that bulls are looking at would be this 17,615. And anything below that, bears are momentarily in control. If this does play out to the downside, we'd be looking at 16,420, let's call it, to complete that move down. we have kind of re-entered into this price channel that we had popped out of. And this price channel had popped out of the previous price channel. So this is still in play. And if we cruise down to here, that's perfectly normal too. But I think with the flows that we're seeing, and we're also looking at the daily volume, which we can take a look at. We're looking for that to continue to rise. We are going into the holidays in December, and typically in the holidays, volume gets a little bit light. This is not your typical December though, with first time ever cryptocurrency futures firing off. So I don't know that I would basically say that that's a given that volume is going to be light for crypto. Might be a great time for funds and institutional money to gobble up some Bitcoin. So if we look here, this kind of to me is just consolidation. It did break up above the 17,330 level that we talked about yesterday. So that to me was a pretty big technical move. We are seeing volume. I think if you look at volume from the time where we started approaching the futures, I think you can say that it looks like consistently there's just more volume right in this area versus back here. So to me, it looks like the bigger money flow is beginning, and I do think that we're going to make new highs. We got a bunch of fib targets up here, but keep in mind that these are just technical levels, and really what you want to do is, if you're holding, that's fine. I think it's a very bullish setup. If you're swing trading, this is definitely a possible scenario as we can move down and tag this 16,420 level. Otherwise, if this 17,615 breaches, we're going higher, and may break back out of this channel. The 4-hour is recharging on the stochastics, so that could dip back up and move us up higher. And the bigger, more powerful one is the daily has recharged, and those are pretty powerful too for moves higher, like several $1,000s worth of moves when it gets like that. Hourly is also in that situation. Okay, so just wanted to run, that was just a quick wrap up of Litecoin and Bitcoin at the end there, but really wanted to run through the psychology, guys, of where we've seen past price moves like that and what can possibly happen. And people don't think it's going to go down, and it does. And it does longer than anybody expects. And then it consolidates longer than anybody expects too. So just keep your expectations in check, and just understand that it's a market and anything can really happen. But I do think Litecoin can go higher, and I would, basically we'll be looking at technical levels. But if we see a big volume day, big volume blow off, big candle, then you're going to probably be looking at a possible top. And what I mean by that is, if you look here, like, excuse me, this bar here, this big wick, that's indicative of a blow off top. So anyway, keep that in mind. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you find this helpful, please hit the subscribe button. That helps us keep these videos coming to you. If you have any questions or any thoughts or questions on our service, the links are below. You can click on that. If you have any questions, give us an email, shoot us an email at info@tradegenius.co. Again, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you on the next video. Take care. Bye.